you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, guys. When the Iron Lady sings it, that makes it official. Welcome to the big show, family and friends. As always, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Some of those crazy places on the internet. We have an amazing multi-book author on the show today. She's talking to us about her newest book that's just come out, December 5th, 2023, which is actually tomorrow. So there you go. People watching this 10 years from now are like, no, that's not how it works on YouTube. So her newest book is called Technically Yours by Denise Williams, and is the editor's pick actually on Amazon for best romance. So there you go. I tried to write my book for best romance, but it was just a business book, so it didn't count. Denise Williams wrote her first book in the second grade, I Hate You, and its sequel, I Still Hate You. Did we date in your youth, Denise?
I don't know.
Sounds familiar. I hear that a lot from women. Featured I Still Hate You featured a tough, funny heroine, quirky hero, witty banter, and a dragon. Minus the dragons, these are still the books she likes to write. After penning those early works, she finished second grade and eventually earned a PhD in education, going to work in higher education. After growing up a military brat around the country and across, she now lives in Des Moines, Iowa, with her husband, son, and two ornery Shih Tzus who think they own the house. That sounds typical for those breeds of dogs. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I am great. It's so good to join you today.
It's so wonderful to have you as well. So give us your .coms, any place you want people to find you on the interweb.
Yeah, well, the legit places. I'm at DeniseWilliamsWrites.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Well, we're not calling it Twitter anymore, X, and TikTok. And I make embarrassing videos that are probably a little cringeworthy, according to my child.
Oh, wow.
And that's where you can always find me at Nick Will Writes.
There you go. So how many books do you have total? You got more than I can count. I flunked second grade, so I can't count that.
Yeah, that was before we dated in the third grade, I guess.
Is that what
this will be my ninth book.
There you go. Yeah, you've got quite the collection going on.
My debut came out in 2020, so it's been a wild ride over the last 3-4 years.
There you go. The Fastest Way to Fall, The Misconnection, How to Fail at Flirting. I've got a camera in front of me. The Love Connection, The Sweetest Connection. How to Fail at Flirting. That sounds like a real funny book.
So I think I'm pretty funny, so I think it was.
There you go. Tell us about this newest book, Technically Yours.
Yeah, so Technically Yours, as you said, for us, comes out tomorrow. For those in the future, hey, it's in your bookstore right now, is a second chance romance. So the couple met years ago and now they're back together. It takes place in the world of a tech nonprofit. So kind of like Girls Who Code or those type organizations that are trying to get kids, particularly women and kids of color, into the tech world. And it takes place between the executive director and one of the board members who is a tech CEO. So I always joke that it's got Fortran as foreplay. And so you get quite a bit of heat and spice, but also some great chemistry and some good, I think, social commentary around diversity and technology.
There you go. Does it have any conspiracy? Because you know what 4chan is.
Fortran, not 4chan.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right.
That'd be a very different book.
It's Monday for me. Yeah, that probably would be. On the cover, it says, sometimes love needs a reboot. So does that basically turn it off and then power back up again? Is that how it works?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, sometimes you got to try that second time.
I should try that with my exes then.
Or don't. I don't know.
Sometimes I call them and ask for a second time, and then they hang up on me. That's when I usually get the books written about hating me. So
that's when tech support comes on and says, "Are you sure that it's plugged in?"
Definitely. Or I'm even plugged in. So with Technically Yours, as you've written all these books, is there a series of characters? Are they all standalones or?
Yeah, Yeah, good question. They can all be read as standalones. I hate it when I find like a 7th book in a series and I have no idea like important parts because I got to read the rest of them. So these can all be read on their own, but this is the 4th book in the same universe. So How to Fail at Flirting, The Fastest Way to Fall, Do You Take This Man, and Now Technically Yours all have the same characters. They all take place in and around Chicago. They're kind of in that same world. And so this is the last one in that world. And then I have a series of novellas that take place in the airport that exist in kind of a separate world.
There you go. 8 years ago, he fell in love with a stranger he couldn't have. That also sounds like most of my dating life. Today,
I feel like we need a relationship book for you. Maybe you need to read some more romance.
or how not to have a relationship. I'm just not sure I'm fitted properly for one. I miss that codependency gene. 8 years ago, he fell in love with a stranger he couldn't have. Today, she's back in his life, and the sparks between them threaten to set her career on fire. Fire, I say. So there you go. So what made you pick some of the characters? Tell us about the characters and the protagonists that are in the book.
Yeah, so the 2 lead characters are Cord, who we met in The Fastest Way to Fall, my sophomore novel. And he, I think the best way to describe him is he lives in Chucks. He never wants to wear a suit to work. And he's sort of your quintessential tech guy. I was told in editing he was drinking far too much Mountain Dew, which is what I sometimes tell my husband too. Just, he's that guy. He's very laid back and he is in love with this woman, has been in love with this woman forever. And I always say when I'm describing him, he's a recovering people pleaser, as I think a lot of us are. And so figuring out how to not just work to serve other people, but to serve his own interests as well. And so we've met him before. Pearl was the secretary at his company 8 years ago. And so we met her in The Fastest Way to Fall as well. She is very guided, very purposeful, very meticulous in her work. And so falling in love with somebody at work she's not supposed to is a real conflict for her. And she's just kind of a badass. I really enjoyed writing her. And she takes care of her business and is on top of things, really cares about her family. And so she was a really fun person to write and a good counter to him because she has very, very little trouble standing up for what she wants, which so often we don't see that with women. And so I really like to write characters who challenge some of those dynamics sometimes.
There you go. So does your husband ever get jealous? You've written about this guy a couple times through some books. What's going on there?
No, he's secure in our relationship. It's not an I hate you moment. So he's good. I think sometimes he's probably relieved because he can say, oh, well, you're going to get some of that soppy stuff from your book boyfriend. So it's fine.
Your book boyfriend.
Yeah.
Well, he understands the romance novel market, doesn't he?
He does. He does. I mean, he's got a wife who's been up in it for several years. So, yeah, he's had no choice.
I have enough beach read authors that come on that I know what's going on over there. So it's funny because it's always a either get back together situation or I found the guy that I missed when I was in high school and now I'm divorced. It's always a lifetime sort of movie thing.
I mean, we've all got those stories in us, right? I always tell a lot of men they should read more romance if they don't, or women too. It's a good guide for relationships.
Maybe we should. I don't know.
Well, you let me know. I'll give you some recs.
There you go. Well, I'll just go through your library, right?
Oh, yeah. There you go. That too.
Is it placed in the same sort of scenarios or same areas, locales as your earlier books, or is anything new going on that way?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit different. All my books really, most of them are based in Chicago, at least the series, because that's where the first one took place. So physically, that's where they are. But that whole world of tech was very new. That was not what any of my other books have been about. And so I tend to pick different settings for my books, which is really fun for me as a PhD, as a researcher. I get to go learn new things. And so I was studying up on programming terms and, how you can't make a good pun unless you know what all these techie words mean. And so did quite a bit of studying to put that in this world and also this world of kind of nonprofit management. I had a little bit of experience with, but not a lot. So that'll be new for readers. And the second chance is not something I've written before. So that'll be new for my readers as well. But as far as the high heat, high emotion, like lots of side characters, lots of bad jokes, good jokes too, but also a lot of dad jokes. Those will be really familiar to anybody who's read my work before.
Sounds like a lot of Silicon Valley jokes probably too.
I didn't even think about that. That was totally a pun I missed. I got stuck on penetration testing.
Penetration test. I'm just gonna not even go near that. But yeah, technically yours. It's got a cover on it. It's kind of like a bluer, kind of less disturbing color of the the Matrix on it, sort of thing.
Yeah, this is right here too as we're airing. But I actually had this idea for the cover, and when they asked what we wanted to do, I was like, what if it was the Matrix, but like romantic? And then I had to unpack that a little bit because obviously the Matrix is not inherently romantic. Yeah. And I love it. It's probably I loved all my covers. It's probably my favorite cover. And yeah, inside the book, there's things in binary code, and sometimes they spell some things out and things like that. So it was just a fun sort of coded way to brand the book.
There you go. It sounds like some of the things I've done with love. You know that scene in The Matrix where the guy goes, I know the steak isn't real, but I just love the taste of steak. It's kind of how my love life is. I know it isn't love, but I love the taste of whatever it is.
Chris, I really feel like we do need to get you reading some romance. Like, I feel like there's a need here, and maybe there's some benefit here.
I don't know if it'd prove anything. But you never know. There you go. What's coming up for you in the future? Are you have anything more and sometimes authors have stuff in the can and they're pumping out quite a pace.
Yeah, yes. Right now I'm slowing down. I had 4 books out last year and 3 this year. Mm-hmm. And next year I only have 1, which is lovely. So that is due here in a couple of weeks, and it'll be done by then if my editor is listening in. But that actually takes place in Des Moines, which is where I live, here in Iowa, which is great because there's never books set, I feel like, in the Midwest and the state of Iowa. And it is about a lottery winner and a donut shop owner. And so that has been a lot of fun to write. There's a lot of like silliness, and I feel like buying a lottery ticket once a week and eating donuts constantly while writing it are a business expense. So I don't know how my accountant will feel about that, but that is coming up, and that'll come out next year. And then I'll have another one out in 2025.
You are rocking it, and it is. Are you sticking in the same vein the whole time, writing for the same characters and stuff?
No. These will be new characters, and actually, this will be a totally new universe, a new world. But it is all romance. They're all usually folks who, for me, and this is a theme across all my books, their careers really matter to them, and that's just because that's me. I work in education. I've always worked in education, and so all my characters, like their jobs, are a big part of who they are and what they do and what they love, and so that is definitely consistent for this next one. But otherwise, the setting and the issues really are very different.
There you go. Wonderful thing you got going on. You're just kicking ass, taking names. What got you into writing and stuff? What's your journey and what got you into being an author?
I've always loved to write, but it was short stories, really bad poetry that I learned recently was still on the internet from 25 years ago. And I never, thought much about it, but it was always a place where I found kind of joy and relaxation. I wrote for a while, but then I started working on my graduate degree, and I didn't have time to write anything that didn't have a citation attached to it. And in 2016, the world was 2016ing, and I had a newborn, and I just felt buried. I was lost in everything that was going on. And so I decided to sit down and write just a short story, just kind of have some time for me. So I did that, and I loved it. I felt so relaxed. I felt so rejuvenated that I went back and did it every night. And that in short order turned into what would be my first novel. And when I finished it, I thought, this is maybe kind of good. I'll show it to some friends. And they lovingly and kindly and gently told me it wasn't. And then I met some writers and did some research, learned about writing. And some of those folks less gently and kindly told me it wasn't good yet. But through that process, I ended up with a book I was really proud of, and then found the right agent who found the right editor. And again, that became my debut novel. So I always joke with folks, you don't need an MFA. You can learn as you go. Like, that's something I love about writing is it's iterative. Like, you learn it as you go, and you can always get better.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's how you become a writer. So you went through the whole journey and everything else. And you feel that PhD really helps when you do like research and stuff, huh?
It does. I mean, it does help with research because that's what we're trained to do. It also really helps with getting reviews, especially if they're negative, because in academia, if anybody's listening, if you're a professor, if you write academic journals, any of that, like, we kind of live to give critique to each other. And sometimes it's nice and warm and lovely, but usually it's a little harsh. And, getting negative reviews on my books or getting critique from my editor is kind of, that's whatever. I'm used to that. But yeah, doing research has really helped. So for this one, it was learning about technology and coding and things that I know nothing about. The Missed Connection, which is one of my novellas, is about chemistry professors. And the last time I took chemistry was when I dropped it after failing the midterm my freshman year in college. So I'm, on the phone with friends and I've got 27 browser windows open so that I can make 7 sex jokes about chemistry that I'm sorry are real good jokes. I'm very proud of those jokes. But so I could, realistically give my characters, what they're passionate about. But I certainly didn't know anything about it.
Maybe you have a future in comedy or stand-up.
I mean, I think I'm very funny, although, again, my son would tell you differently.
Well, that's always, the kids, man. They're always going to throw you off. But maybe you have a stand-up comedy future in your writing jokes or doing stand-up. So
maybe. My uncle's a stand-up comedian, so...
There you go. It's in the family.
Yeah, I guess so. In the blood.
There you go. Anything more we want to tease out on the book before we go and what you're doing?
I hope folks really enjoy it. It's like I said, I think it's got a good message and really digs into the world of tech a little bit, but it's spicy. Like there's some heat in it. There's some great chemistry in it. I'm really excited about this book and for folks to get to see it.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Denise, for coming on the show. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Folks can find me at denisewilliamswrites.com, or you can find me at Nick Will Writes across all the social platforms.
There you go. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.